4-10. Jesus as a perfect man, the last Adam 1:15. 45, was the only human capable of providing the redemption price for Adam's unborn offspring. He willingly offered himself to die innocently as a perfect human sacrifice, in harmony with Jehovah's will. Heb 10. 5. Jesus will make use of the authority granted by Jehovah on the basis of his ransom to give life to all those who accept this provision. 1:15. 45. Compare 5. 15-17. Thus, Jesus was indeed a corresponding ransom, not for the redemption of the one sinner, Adam, but for the redemption of all mankind. Textoi acute miritra longo. Galilee, located in northern Palestine, was a prosperous and well-populated province in Bible times. To this day its geographic features are inviting. The deep blue Sea of Galilee, the rugged northern terrain, and the fertile plains. Picture below. Here in this picturesque region, Jesus spent most of his earthly life, being raised in the Galilean city of Nazareth. Mount 2. 21-23. Lu 2. 51-52. Farming, shepherding, and fishing were common occupations among the Galileans, and this is reflected in many of Jesus' parables. A hard-working, industrious people, the common Galileans were looked down upon by the Pharisees and chief priests at Jerusalem. Their distinct accent made the Galileans easily recognizable to their fellow Jews. Mount 26. 73. Galilee was the scene of some of the outstanding events of Jesus' ministry. On a mountainside near Capernaum, Jesus gave his famous Sermon on the Mount. Mount 5. 1, 2. Here in Galilee, he miraculously healed many persons. Mr. 1. 32-34. 6. 53-56. Joe 4. 46-54. How were Jesus' preaching and miracles received in Galilee? When he preached in his hometown, Nazareth, the people at first marveled at the winsome words proceeding out of his mouth. But after Jesus compared them to the Israelites in the days of Elijah and Elisha, they sought to kill him. 4. 22-30. The Galileans in general, though, were very responsive to Jesus' ministry. Thus, it was from Galileans that his early disciples were drawn, and all of his apostles with the possible exception of Judas Iscariot were Galilean. Mount 4. 18-22. Lu 6. 12-16. The crowd of about 120 disciples that received the Holy Spirit on the day of Pentecost 33 CE were Galileans. Act 1. 15. 2. 1-7. Province of Galilee. The fertile plain of Jezreel, with Mount Tabor in the background on the left. 737. Map based on satellite photo of Galilee. Ruins of Cana. Here Jesus turned water into fine wine. Joe 2. 1-11. Name as it appears now. Jesus brought great joy to a widow here when he resurrected her son. Lu 7. 11-17. Boundary of province roads. Mediterranea Ensica raising Capernaum Bethsaida Magadan Tiberias Sea of Galilee Cana Nazareth Nankadashapos Gadara Ptolemais Dor Megiddo Sepphoris Mount Tabor Mount Carmel Jordan River Valley of Jezreel Esdraelon. Ruins of Capernaum and the northwest shore of the Sea of Galilee. The first century synagogue lies below the later one visible here. From this area Jesus selected fishermen and a tax collector as apostles. Mount 4. 18-22. 9. Tiberias, where Herod Antipas, the district ruler, had his residence and evidently where John the Baptist was put to death. Mr. 6. 21-28. Ruins of Chorazin, a city reproached by Jesus, because its inhabitants were not repentant. Lu 10. 13. The fruitful plain of Gennesaret, where Jesus performed many miraculous cures. Mount 14. 34-36. Surrounded by hills in northern Palestine lies the freshwater inland lake called the Sea of Galilee, Sea of Tiberias, the Lake of Gennesaret. Picture below. Set like a jewel in a deep basin, the lake is located some 210 meters, 700 feet below sea level. It is about 21 kilometers 13 mi long and about 12 kilometers 7.5 mi wide. Both on and around this lake many outstanding events of Jesus' ministry took place. Several times Jesus spoke from a boat to crowds assembled on the shores of the sea. Mr. 4. 1, 2. Capernaum, a city on the northern shore, came to be known as Jesus' own city, even though he traveled much of the time. Mount 9. 1. Mr. 2. 1. Jesus walked on the waters of this sea and appeared near it after his resurrection. Joe 6. 1, 16-21. 21. 1, 4-19. Around the Sea of Galilee locations on map with related scriptures Bethsaida Mr. 8. 22-26. Lu 9. 10-17. 10. 13 Capernaum Lu 4. 31-41. Mount 9. 1-13. 11. 23 Chorazin Mount 11. 20-22 Gadara Mount 8. 28-34 Magadan Mount 15. 39. 16. Fork Plain of Mount 14. 34-36 Gennesaret Sea of Galilee Mount 14. 24-34. Mr. 4. 35-41. Lu 5. 1-11 Tiberias Mount 14. 1-11, 740 Chorazin Bethsaida Capernaum Plain of Gennesaret Magadan Tiberias Seofgalileejordia Gadara. Events leading up to Jesus' death took place in and around Jerusalem. Here the Son of God was presented to the nation as its king. As he approached the city, a multitude of the disciples cried out, "Blessed is the one coming as the King in Jehovah's name." Lu 19. 37, 38 But the religious leaders of the nation rejected him and falsely charged that he was inciting the people to revolt. When the Roman governor, Pontius Pilate, pointedly asked Jesus whether he was a king, Jesus replied, "My kingdom is no part of this world." Picture below when Pilate himself presented Jesus to the Jews, saying, "See, your king." The chief priests answered, "We have no king but Caesar." Joe 18. 33-38. 19. 14, 15. Events leading up to the death of Christ above. Inscribed stone bearing the name of Pontius Pilate, in Latin. Discovered in 1961 741, when and where events took place Nisan 9 Bethany Joe 12. 2-9 to Jerusalem Lu 19. 29-44 Nisan 10 Jerusalem, Temple Mr. 11. 15-18 Nisan 11 Jerusalem, Temple Mount 21. 23. 24. 2. Lu 21. 1-4 Mount of Olives, Mount 24. 3. 25. 46 East of Jerusalem Nisan 12 Jerusalem Lu 22. 1-6 Nisan 13 near and Lu 22. 7-13 in Jerusalem Nisan 14 Jerusalem Joe 13. 1. 17. 26. Mount 26. 26-29 Garden of Mount 26. 36-56 Gethsemane, east of Jerusalem Jerusalem, House Joe 18. 13, 24. Of Caiaphas Mount 26. 57-75 Jerusalem, Lu 22. 66-71 Sanhedrin Hall Jerusalem, Joe 18. 28. 19. 16 Governor's Palace Golgotha, Lu 23. 33-46 outside Jerusalem Jerusalem and surrounding area numbers represent present-day elevation in meters Golgotha. Golgotha. VLLEYOF Hin Nom Gehenna Pool of Bethesda Jericho MOUNTOFOL 4ES Garden of Gethsemane. To be the YTV of Kidron Tower of Antonia Temple Sanhedrin Hall. Governor's Palace House of Caiaphas. Acuedu Court Pool of Siloam Spring of Gihon 770, 760, 750, 740, 780, 800, 770, 730, 700, 720, 740, 620, Nisan 9. As Christ entered Jerusalem, he was hailed as King Nisan 10. He threw out of the temple those who were using it for commerce Nisan 11. He foretold the end of the old system and the time of his presence as king in heavenly glory Nisan 14. Before he was impaled, he instituted the memorial of his death. Before ascending to heaven in 33 CE, Jesus Christ gave his followers this parting commission. You will be witnesses of me both in Jerusalem and in all Judea and Samaria and to the most distant part of the earth. Act 1. 8. They proved true to their commission. 10 days later, at Pentecost, Holy Spirit came upon about 120 disciples waiting in Jerusalem, and they proceeded to speak about the magnificent things of God. Act 2. 1-4, 11. On that same day, about 3,000 were baptized. Act 2. 37-41. Within a short time, the disciples filled Jerusalem with their teaching. Act 5. 27, 28, 40-42. With what result? The number of the disciples kept multiplying in Jerusalem very much. Act 6. 7. From Jerusalem, the witnessing work spread out. As a result of opposition to their witnessing in Jerusalem, the disciples were scattered throughout Judea and Samaria. Again, the result was increase. Act 8. 1-4, 14-17. In 36 CE, the Apostle Peter brought the good news to Caesarea, where Cornelius and his household, the first uncircumcised Gentile converts, were baptized. Act 10. Following that, systematic witnessing among non-Jews apparently began in Syria and Antioch. As a result, a great number that became believers turned to the Lord. Act 11. 20, 21. Since then, the witnessing work has expanded to other nations and has literally reached to the most distant part of the earth. Spread of Christianity. 744 areas of concentrated activity. Areas touched by the good news. In the 1st century Rome, Macedon, Greece, Blaksia, Russia, Bithynia, Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Mphy, Syria, Jerusalem, Cyprus, Crete, Babylon, Persia, Ngulf, Spin, Italy, Malta, Media, Ternia, Nesia, Illyrica, Mesopotamia,